Hello again, once more, welcome back to the cellar. This is a little bit different to some of the others. We're going to go to the cinema with the building of a Metcalfe kit. Just a quick heads up, this is quite a long video. I didn't realise quite how long it was until I started editing this. Feel free to skip ahead, I've fast forwarded certain parts already. This is Leopard Street. Okay, here we are at the desk, so to speak. Tube of glue, a few basic tools. Quite sure what the YouTube compression algorithm is going to make of this cutting mat, but there we go. Job of the day is this. Low relief cinema Metcalfe kit, Papa Oscar 206. So if I can get into it, let's have a little look and see what we've got. This is for the little area on the back of board C, which I'm not going to turn around and show, because if I do I'm going to have to reposition the camera, and to be honest it's a real pain to do. So what I need to do is get into this package, which is not the easiest thing in the world to do, and see what we have in here. So that all comes out, that is all of it, so that can go down there out of the way. We have a couple of printed sheets, one which very nicely includes the base, which is a nice low relief base. There's a piece there that fell out of a shop. A couple of bits of grey card, always like grey card. Stand those up over there where they're out of the way. Bridge tiles, useful. Oh, signs and window displays, and a load of posters, that could be useful. Yes, they could be very useful. Turn it into a bingo place or a nightclub or something like that, as well as a cinema. Interesting idea. Do I think about that? That's the upper front of the building part. Windows. Unlike Windows 11, which has been the bane of my life for this past couple of weeks. But anyway, so we have here, make a builder's yard. It says to extract everything. Okay, so we'll do that. I'm going to start with bits here. Don't really need the roof just yet, but there we go. So, yes. The reason I'm putting this together, well, I mean, obviously I want the building, and I want to get that scenic area done. I'm going to be doing a video shortly on adding lights to buildings. Now, if you have seen Train of Thought channel, Ian's channel over there, and to be honest, if you haven't, you should. He's done a series recently on lighting LEDs. He did one that came out yesterday on using pulse width modulation to light LEDs, which is well worth a look, because I'm going to be using something fairly similar here, although I'm not going to be using the 555 timer circuit Ian used. I've got something else in mind, but Ian goes through the principles of it all extremely clearly. So they're bits of the tops of the walls, looks like another top of a wall piece. Now, if you've never put one of these kits together before, they are wonderful. They're not very expensive. They are quite easy to work with. It's just printed card, stick it together, and away you go. So they're all bits over there. The first thing I'm going to have to do is doorsteps. That'll be for the two little shops. What this is a cinema and a couple of shops that sit either side of it. Yeah, if you've not put one of these kits together before, they're well worth getting hold of and having a try. They're cheap. I forget how much this one was, but it wasn't much. They're fairly simple. I mean, you get the slight cliche of the model railway becomes Metcalfeville. Well, yeah, maybe, but Cliches exist for a reason. Just think of it like that. These things get used because they are cheap, they're readily available, and they're simple to use. Younger viewers or the more elderly who shouldn't be trusted with sharp objects, yeah, you may need somebody to keep an eye on you and stop you trying to take over the world while you're doing it, or something silly like that. But otherwise, fairly straightforward. So I'm just going to knock some of this stuff out. The first stage, I suspect, is going to be fitting all of the windows. It usually is. We shall do that. So I will be back with you in a moment when I have finished doing this. Yeah, it's not too bad actually, this sort of initial prep step. It's you can cut the bits out as you need them, or you can try and do this and chop them all out. Here I figured it was going to be fairly easy to tell which part was which, so I went through the chop them all out route, sort of cleaning some of the individual bits up. I did still manage to forget a couple of pieces at the end, which I only realised at the very end of this, which looking back is one of those things. Every time I look at this building, I'm going to remember the 2 pieces I forgot. Yeah, I don't care, I'm going to live with it. Anyway, here we come. Yeah, just chopping all these bits here out, and then we'll be back with it. Okay, that's the printed card heap cut. There's the thicker grey stuff to do as well, but I'm going to look at the instructions and see what they say to do. So, we're onto this here. So yes, before doing else, start cutting all the glazing components and attach each one to where they go. So, let's have a little look at what we have as glazing components. And for this, I heartily recommend scissors. Quite frankly, there's are other ways of doing it, but I recommend scissors every single time. So let's have a little look at some of these windows. Some of the doors as well. The sheets are a lot easier if you actually cut them into pieces, rather than trying to cut individual windows out. If you want ones out the middle, yes, you're probably going to be using a knife. However, it's easier not to. So these here are... let's have a look what these are. These do not have other bits of glazing on them. So you look at the sheet to tell you where these go. For example, you have front wall, inner windows, and I think the strips, yes, you cut them out and you stick them on separately. It's always worth checking, does this window fit where I'm putting it, and if you think, it doesn't fit brilliantly, check you're putting it in the right place. So it's always the thing to do. So we shall take these windows here. They are labelled, some of them, what they're for as well, so sometimes doing these in stages is a really good idea. Now, as I say, the idea here is this building is going to get some lighting added. It's one of the reasons I've chosen to do these ones, because these are low relief buildings, so basically it's modelling the front of the building only with a very little amount of depth to it. What you get is quite easy access to the inside when the model is finished from the back. It's not perfect. The access isn't amazing. But it's improved greatly if you don't glue the back of the building on straight away. You can glue it on later, but put the lighting in first. You can see what you're doing, because we're going to be using a series of programmable LEDs, individually addressable, that will do what we need to do. So there's some little doors. Those doors I think are for the shops, but I could be wrong. I think there's some little shop pieces here which work nicely. So shop window, right hand door. Oh yes, the shop window pieces. These here are the doors. So that is a door for one of them. There's another one around here somewhere. Here we are. And yes, you have a blue door and a cream coloured door, like that. And what we have is these pieces here. Now they go on, if memory serves, which way round do these go? It says somewhere, I believe the matte side faces outwards, so like that needs to be stuck on there. So the way we do that is to get Bostik. I don't want too much. You need enough. It's the old, you need enough of it to hold, but you don't want so much of it it goes everywhere. They actually recommend a glue called Yoo-Hoo for this, which, if you've got it, is by far better. If you've got it. If you haven't got it, obviously, the fact it's better is a bit irrelevant. So that is then going to go onto there. I'm then going to pick the door up and position it from this side here so that we get about an equal amount of frame around. And there we have, there's a door with its glazing piece fitted. They really are crystal clear. It's lovely clear plastic. And it sits on the back. Just press it on a little bit. Job done. That's one door. So that needs to go to one side. Be positioned somewhere as well so that it doesn't stick itself to anything. Here we have the other door. The other door glazing. So again, I am going to skip through sticking these on, and I will be back momentarily. Yes, as noted, Metcalfe recommend Yoo-Hoo, the glue in the yellow tube, for doing this. I tend to use Bostik because I've got it. Yoo-Hoo is a lot thinner. It will soak into the card better. It will grip the plastic better. If you've got it, you probably should use it. Bostik dries quicker though. This stuff's stickier. It's got a lot more grip to it, so it tends to be why I tend to go with this. The windowing stage on this one wasn't actually all that bad. Yeah, the terrace housing kit is worse. There's a lot more windows in that, and they all have to be cut in individually, and then there's frames and things to stick them all to as well. Here they just pretty much go to the back of the plastic, with the exception of the shop windows. These are the bits I missed. The shop windows, when we get to them, you'll notice get stuck straight to the backs of the plastic. There is actually a card frame they're supposed to be stuck on first. Yeah, so you're building one of these, just take your time slightly more than I did, and you'll catch that. There's other bits and pieces you can do to the backs of these windows. You can add blinds and things, although in this particular kit you'd have to make those yourself. Some of the kits come with curtains and other bits. You can go with the sort of toilet window effect. If you've got an airbrush, just a very, very thin coat of white paint on the back of the window will do that. You can do a very similar thing actually, just with a bit of tracing paper. It'll give you a sort of a slightly diffused effect to lighting effects and stuff if you put behind them. Yeah, see these bits here, these are supposed to be stuck to a small piece of white card, which is a frame, and not directly to these bits here. So, and it works. It works. It's just one of those things I'm always going to look at and know about. So, yeah. Anyway, back to real time. Okay, done. That's the windows done. The windows are really, really boring to fit. That's all I'm going to say. They're really, really boring. You do get some choices. There's multiple shop windows, so you can have completely clear ones, one with the top sections, the tobacconist one, which I'm going for. So, according to this, the next step is to glue 4 solid grey side strengtheners together for each shop, and there's 4 of them here. So let me find my knife, which I've just put the instructions on top of. According to that, that's what these are. Put it through again. The other thing you learn building these kits, there are some lovely techniques here which you can use when you're building, scratch building your own buildings, like this method here for get a wall to a set thickness. Well, if you need a 4mm thick piece, glue 1mm thick pieces of card together, and it's a lot easier to work with than trying to work with anything more solid. So these now need to go together as pieces. Now, because I'm going to be lighting this building, I will need to make a few modifications here and there, basically to make spaces for the wires. I'm going to look at that as I'm going through. That's that, that's that, that's that, and that's that one. So they get sandwiched and then pressed together on various bits. They could actually do with a clip or two probably to hold them while they dry. So I'm going to use some of these. These are clips intended for holding a. I think they're originally intended for holding a beach towel to a beach chair. And since the chances of me getting anywhere near a beach are fairly remote, I'm going to use them like this because I've got a load of the things. Came from Amazon. Actually got them to do a review on them, weirdly, part of their review program. But yes, anyway, they're useful clip. I mean, when you're putting kits like this together, clips, clothes pegs, all this sort of stuff, well worth having to hand, because there's always something you want to hold while it just dries a few seconds. That's the other reason I prefer using Bostik over Yoo-Hoo. Bostik grips a lot quicker. You can also put these things together with PVA, although don't put the windows in with PVA. That really is a bad idea. It doesn't work. You can put the kits together with PVA. PVA will hold the kits beautifully. It'll bond wood, it'll certainly bond cardboard. But what you'll very quickly find is PVA takes an age to dry. And because it takes an age to dry, you'll get very bored very quickly, whereas this is quite quick. So that's those two. Now what I need to do with those, according to the instructions, is find the inner shop formers, which are these two here. These get folded back like so, so they also need gluing and a clip, just while the glue bonds. We shall do that as well. And these form the parts of the shops. Again, part of this, as I say, I'm going to be start again. I'm going to be lighting these. So one of the things I'm going to end up doing is adding some paint to places you might not normally see when you put the kit together, but with a bit of light shining, you probably will. So that's those drying as well. So what it then says we're going to do is put the cinema doors and steps. Well, this here becomes the cinema. I've not seen where it says to do anything with that bit. Figure 1 windows, that there. Looks like there's a load of tab pieces on the top of this. I'm not quite sure what you're supposed to do with them. We shall follow that later. But building structure, which obviously you can't see because you're looking at it from the other side. So that's that. So the next thing to do is assemble the two shops. So we start with this one, which is, yeah, I'm not quite sure which one it is. Right, so that's that. According to the instructions, that's that way, and has this one. Nope. This one. It goes onto here, holds that door at the right angle, sticks on top of there, and has one of these backing pieces stuck there. Yeah, okay, yeah, that seems to make some sort of sense. So take one of these, which is now stuck fairly firmly. Is going to go onto there. So I shall do that first. That's a bit of glue there, and a bit of glue there. Now, I didn't realise, obviously, you can't really see where I'm putting the glue because it's clear. Sorry about that, it's just one of those things. So this can stick like that, like that. Goes there, holds for a few seconds, and it should bite like that if I just hold that briefly. Even hold it with the clamps. The problem with holding it with the clamps is it's not going to hold it at the right angle, so to speak. Need a drink. Always remember, modelling work, thirsty work, keep yourself hydrated. Right. Obviously you've got these little lines here. These are going to need painting as well towards the end of doing all of this. Right, if I just grip that like so. All I want is that to have a chance to dry, and then this here, which is the clamp. The glue didn't hold for long enough, so I'm just going to leave that a little bit longer to bite before I do anything with it. I don't know what they are. There's something else. So while that's doing that, I'm going to do the same end piece to the other shop window, which is there. And yeah, I mean it's a simple kit. It's going to put together a cinema. Yeah. I've got a couple of these. I got this kit and the one with I think it's the bank and a shop next to it. Chosen because they're a decent height, and obviously where they're going, I need a little bit of height just to help it mask what's behind it. So if I do that, and again stand it up. I need to get the glue. It's not just bonding to the side piece here; it's bonding onto that end piece, which is what's taking the time here. So yes, I need to leave that a few moments to dry. Don't be afraid when you're building these things to leave things a few moments to dry. As the instructions note, hold until glue has set. Well, that's basically what the clamps are for. I can't be bothered to hold it with my fingers. But sometimes what you actually want is a little bit of flexibility. That's probably that one. The reason you want the flexibility is you can make little adjustments before the glue fully dries. So it's like here, that is going to go onto there, and it's going to hold this shop door at the correct angle. Ideally, it's going to go into there like that and be glued in. So now I know where that's going, I can apply the adhesive. So we have a little bit on the end. And I must say, these kits really are quite clever. A little bit in that bit there. These kits really are quite clever in terms of how they're put together, how they're designed. So yes, you can learn a lot to help scratch building by putting Metcalfe kits together. Not just Metcalfe, there's a few companies that make these sort of things. I mean, obviously, Super Quick are another sort of brand that's known for this sort of kit. There are others. There's a whole load of companies out there doing papercraft kits. That is essentially one of the shops. So I need to do the other one. So that can be allowed to just dry, and it just sort of sits and dries, and that piece there will, I'm hoping, bind onto the end of that nicely. And give me the two shops. Yay, two shops. Like having two sheds Arthur Two Sheds Jackson, if you remember that old sketch. And if you don't, I envy your youngness, as I occasionally make various film references to Monty Python, Airplane, and whatever to my youngest, and he just looks at me with a blank look because he's far too young to remember any of them, which is quite depressing, really, given he's actually, I mean, he's young, but he's not that young, if that makes sense. And I talk to him, I mention a film reference, he gives me a blank look, and then I just feel old. So, yes, there we go. Right. And that's the second shop. Now, and what this card does is it all sticks together quite nicely, but it makes these fairly rigid. Now, it's not perfect. I mean, there's a little twist you can see on the shop side, but that's fine. Right. Then what we have is these go into the shop with the doors facing the outside. So that basically goes there by the look of that. Okay, that's what it says happens. So that's as we've seen before, the editor's decision is final. So yes, that goes in there. That can then get clamped, and that will hold. Yeah, that should work. So this will either work or it won't. And there's a practically Microsoftian statement for you. Completely true, while at the same time being completely and utterly useless. Do that around there, around the top, and then a squiggle of glue on that side. Firmly back on again, and this is this side here, I decided, isn't it? So that's there, like that, and there, like that. Stand it upright so that everything sits square onto the base. That can get a clamp put on it and angled downward slightly. And the rest, as it's starting to pull itself apart there, which is slightly frustrating. It's obviously because the glue hasn't yet fully cured. The rest, however, sticks to the front and is actually sticking on quite nicely. So what I need to do is hold that and let that dry properly. And also do the other end, which is this side here. Yes, which is going to be the same, and then probably the same, try and pull itself apart. If it does open up a little bit, I can always add a bit more glue later. Yeah, which is probably what I'm going to end up having to do, or I'm going to stick these in, and then I'm going to have to come back at it with some weights and leave it a few minutes. Again, pull around there like that. Now the other thing about these kits is they are wonderfully therapeutic to build. I find them incredibly calming after a day of dealing with what can only be referred to as the modern world. Something like this that's very simple, very relaxing, is quite nice. So that's that bit together. It's not perfect. I'm just going to put a little bit of a bend in it, and then sort of weight these clamps slightly with something in the bend, like so. And that is the base section of that done according to the instructions. So what are we going to be doing next? Right, there are 4 right, there are some more bits I can do while I'm waiting for this to yes, while I'm waiting for that to dry, there is the next step I can be doing, which involves this piece of card here. It also involves me moving this slightly so I've got a little bit of space to work in. Don't need a lot, I need some. There's more bits for the shops, basically, so I'm going to, if I can get the space in here. The shops have sills for the windows on the inside, which is what these are. So these need to be assembled and then clamped and allowed to dry. So I might as well do these while I'm waiting for the front bit to dry. Something you can do, I mean, you can do these kits in a very, very linear way, as you start at the beginning and work your way through. The other alternative is do what I'm doing here, of just have a little look further ahead and see, is there something else I could be doing while that bit is drying? And in this case, there is. So I have a couple more little sub-assemblies to put together. So I might as well do that. And again, this is one of these, there are lots and lots of these steps where things get stuck to things and then things get stuck to other things, and then you sandwich it all together, and the final step is removing it from your fingers, because it will be stuck to your fingers by that point. So that, clamp that. As you may notice, I'm wearing gloves while I'm doing this. I was, if you've seen one of the other videos, I was doing some bits on the layout earlier, which is why I'm wearing gloves. I thought while I'm doing this, I'm going to be playing with glue, so I'm going to keep the gloves on. It seemed a sensible way of doing it. So that. Speaking of the layout, it is coming back together slowly. I've got some of the other boards are now sort of done. This is all decoration stuff now. This is for board C, the little townscape bit that fits in behind where the railway is, in the back scene area. It is getting done slowly, but it is getting done. So we are getting there with it. It is just taking a little longer than I would have liked, but well, it is what it is. So that's that, and that's that. They will dry and hold the sills together. And what else have we got? There's a backing print and other bits and pieces for the shop displays. Which I shall have a look at in a minute, because this all now needs to stick together for a bit. In fact, what I'm actually going to do now is take a little bit of a break and let all this glue cure, and I shall then return. Okay, here we are back. This has had a little bit of time to dry. A graphic example of multitasking. I have used the time while this is drying to paint the bits of the layout that needed painting. So they can now dry and then we can carry on. I have seen a step in the instructions I didn't realise. The page before, let me go on to this here, shows these, once the shop's in place, the building should now look like this. That's fair enough, so that's what we did. Yeah, the step to actually fit them is over the page, which I missed, but never mind. No harm done. So anyway, that's what the building looks like from the front. We have a couple of shop windows that need cleaning, but that's fine. We now have these steps to go on the inside, and these go in here at the bottom and hold the bottom of the door to the correct angle. And they then have the shop displays fitted to the backs of them. Now, before that can happen, the inside of the shop needs painting. This is one of the steps that I wouldn't normally be doing. Yeah, that helps around there. Because you don't normally need to. If you're not going to put some lights in this thing, you're really not going to need, put the glue on this, it'll probably be easier. If you're not going to put lights in it, you're not going to need to paint the inside, because basically nobody will ever see it. Let's get this glue to flow a little bit better, because it's getting a bit, there we are, that's better. The other thing with Boss Stick is the top of it jams up and it goes a bit rubbery, which is not ideal, but there we go, never mind. Right, so that fits onto there, like so, and that end holds against it like that. Which again needs, really it needs clamping. Unfortunately there's no real way of clamping that, so I'm just going to have to hold that for a few seconds and hope it sticks. There isn't that much weight or load against it. There is then another step, which is that folds up to a right angle, but weirdly doesn't have anything to stick against. So this is another bit I may have to look at, is what I do on the inside of that to make it look a bit more like a sort of the innards of a shop. We shall have to see. So a bit of glue on there again, do this one for the other side, along there, nice bit of glue. This particular piece would probably need Yoo-hoo or Boss Stick anyway, even if you're using PVA, because actually this is sticking to the back of the plastic for the windows, which is interesting. So that can stick on there like so. And these are the inside of the shop sills. You can put a display either leaning up from it or stuck firmly on the back, which is probably what I'm going to go with. And then when we eventually fit a light, it'll be up here somewhere under, if I lift up here somewhere under the eave, so light shines down onto the display, because there isn't a lot of space inside the shop for it to do. So let those dry. We've also found the instructions that say what to do with these tabs, which is basically fold them over and glue them in place. I suspect they align things, so I'm going to get that done as well. They probably want clips holding them to dry. So let's just put a bit of glue on that one and that one to start with. Like that. Fold them over and hold them briefly. Yes, they're not going to stick by themselves. That's fair enough. Clamps on those, and same on this side, and then I'll let that dry briefly before I can clamp the rest of it. Yes, so this is going to get some lights in it. The shops will get one each. This bit here is, I think, where these fit. I will have to check, but I'm fairly sure that fits in there like that, and then that's your doors. So there's not a lot behind the cinema doors. We could end up with a light there to light the foyer. We could end up with a light there to light the back bit. In fact, actually something here to shine down would look quite good, I think. But may need a hole cutting in advance to do it. You could even put two. If this was N gauge, I'd certainly put one, but with it being 00, it may be one there, one there. Really light the foyer up, because I think that's what that's for. I think that slides in there, and then you've got like these slits which are supposed to look like lights, but we'll deal with that. So I'll take that off for now while this all dries. Yeah, coming along quite nicely, and it stands up. I mean, from the front, from my perspective, it looks all right. Obviously, you can't really see that, but that's what we've got. Two little shops, one slightly dustier than the other. I actually quite like the look of the foyer at an angle, but the kit is designed for it to be square, so it will be square. I'm going to now glue these side ones, and again I'll put a clamp on them. Put some glue in there and some glue in there. Doesn't need much in either. Clip that around there and so, and the same over here. And then I think those, as I say, they act as spacers for part of the roof. We now have another sub-assembly we can do. There are some steps. Cinema entrance top step, middle step and bottom step. These simply fold round on each other like that, and all three of them need sticking together. This is probably going to need more clamps, so I shall get a couple more. Like I say, I do have loads of these. I've got about 20 odd of them. They're not all readily in reach. Some of them get used elsewhere, but yeah, all good. A bit of glue on here, but it's worth, if you are going to put lights in these kits, it's worth just thinking about it as you put them together. It doesn't really change how you make them much. I mean, there is a little bit of an implication in a few places. There's some bits you might do a little bit differently. Things like don't glue the roof on is probably the key one in most of the buildings. Don't glue the roof because you're going to want to get inside it. In the case of a low relief one like this, don't glue the back. Even if the instructions say you must do this at an early stage, read ahead and try and find out, well, actually, why do I need to stick that in place now? Is it supporting something, and is there another way I can do that? Could I just blue tack it in place and sort of fit things later, that sort of thing. Anyway, these steps are... Let's see if I've got 2 more clamps within reach. I think I have got a couple more down here. If I have, I can't see them. So, working firmly on the principle, if you can't see it within a few seconds, it doesn't exist. I'm just going to carry on, and this one, I'll sit something on top of this one, just to help hold this. But yes, fitting lights, just a little bit of thought. Where are the wires going to go? How are you going to get the power into the thing? Why are you going to put a thing of airbrush cleaner on top of a piece of card while it holds it while it dries? The lights I'm going to use for this, I don't have any to hand. I say they are addressable LEDs, so it's 3 wires in and 3 wires out. You can run a power bus wire to 5 volt power and ground easily enough, and then but you do have a signal wire that goes from one. They daisy chain. So you need to think, well, if I'm going to put a light here, is that going to connect to the lights that go outside here, over to here, maybe from here to this outside light, to the inside light, to the outside light, to here? Then am I going to then have a wire that comes up, runs along, because there's an internal floor, light there, light there, light there, up, light there, light there, light there. Do I want any external lights, which have to be wired up a bit differently because the lights I'm using are a bit too big? Let's have another drink. But this building is going to have quite a few lights in it, shall we say. I've got an N-gauge one that I think had about 14 lights in it. Not all running independently. Some of them are like wired in 2s and 3s. But it's like the canopy on the outside of a station got, I think it was 3 lights. Just to spread the light out, one light in the middle looked wrong, so I put some more lights on it. Right, these steps here now need make a double thick, fitted on top of each other, making sure the backs are flush and line up. So I can do that, and then this can get clamped in one piece. So yeah, that's how we'll do that. So that goes along there. That can go along there. That. I was thinking with this glue, you don't need a lot of it. This isn't what you might call structurally load bearing. It's a cardboard model kit of a building. So yeah, get that lined up flush at the ends and the sides, and then add a clamp or 2. There we go, that's another sub-assembly ready to dry, which is the steps to get you into the cinema at the front. So, what's the next step? 3 pieces of card that fold the foyer floor. So, what have we got here? We have, these are also folded by the look of this. And this gives you 6 layers. So there is a piece on the top, which is that one. So yeah, basically this is just all going to get put together in one piece, and I can probably glue this together in one go, and then sort of see how we go from there. So glue on that one, glue on that one, a little bit of glue on that one. I'm going to have to glue them together as well, aren't I? So let's do that. Yeah, do that. And what I'm actually going to do, these aren't going to get glued together just yet. I'm just going to hold them together like that, so I can use 2 clamps to do all of it. There we are. Which will hold these while the glue cures like that. Yes, back to the layout. The layout is coming along quite nicely. I do actually quite like it, how things are going. It's looking rather nice. Slowly working on these scenic bits, and yeah, we're sort of continuing from there really. Now this does go into here. However, these stairs need to dry first because they go in. They basically go in to go up against that and then hold it all square while it dries. This bit then goes on the back. By the look of it, the way the building's designed, that's it for the interior. Now I obviously need these sides to continue because I need to split the shop off from the middle. Basically so I can turn on the lights in the shop without having the lights here. Oh, look at it, I should have stuck the doors on by now as well. Oh yes, it says fit the door, which I didn't. Where are the doors? Here are the doors. I've got a white door which goes that side. And a blue door which goes this side. Now the blue door looks like it'll fit, the white door looks like it'll fit with a little bit of fiddling. Yes, they go in, and then they've got a little sliver of stuff to help them there, like that. I'll fit the doors while I wait for the glue to dry on other bits. Yeah. Picking up more bits I don't necessarily need. It's going to be a thin bead of glue. There, a thin bead along that bit. Sure I do get the bead of it along there, and then yeah, the appropriate door a little bit along the top. Not need much, but it does need a little bit. Stand the glue up instead of closing the lid this time. Straight back to it. Take that out the middle because it's not glued in yet. As I say, these kits are extremely therapeutic to put together, I find. It's just one of these things, if you've had a session ballasting and you've lost the will to live, putting something like one of these together can be a nice relaxing way. I mean, I'm down in the cellar doing this. I could quite easily be sat at my desk upstairs watching a video or something else. Obviously I can't really record it while I do that because we'll get all background sound, and then YouTube's copyright monster will come and eat me, which is never a pleasant experience, but there we go. Right, let's make this inside section here now, which is that on there, that on there, that. So yeah, so as I'm putting this together, I'm thinking, how am I going to fit the lights? Where do I want the lights? How am I going to wire the lights? Because I'm going to have to cut a few holes. I've got other building kits I've been looking. Yeah, I've got the right bit there. I've got some other building kits I've been looking at for doing this. I've got some half-built. I mean, you've seen the half-built shop, which is waiting a lighting install. Part of the reason I'm not using that for a lighting install video is I need to drill holes in the boards, and I really need to work out exactly where it's going. This, because of where it's going, there's basically already all the fittings in place to put it in. So I'll remove these clamps from here now. What we've got now from the front is 2 shops complete with their doors, and it stands up, which is it's a bonus, let's put it that way. Right, so cinema steps are done. They need to go in from this side. But they also go in against, hopefully they will actually fit. Yeah, so they go in there, which will wedge that quite nicely, and they come back basically to be flush with that back piece, because that's where the door's going to go. So they could actually be fitted in first. As you see, we then have some steps. The building itself obviously needs to be sat level with those, so they don't stick out the bottom too much, which they are doing at the moment, but that's something I can live with. Right, so a little bit of glue on the end of either of those. There is quite a lot of paint that needs doing on this. It is the drawback with these Metcalfe kits. Obviously it's a card kit, so where you fold the card, you get the colour of the card exposed. Some colours it doesn't matter. I mean, like the outer, it's like that corner doesn't really matter. It'd be nicer if it lined up perfectly, but if it doesn't, it's not the end of the world. Right, so that comes on there like so, fills in there. Push the steps in, building round, press everything down nicely and hold those in. And then that piece will eventually fit in there. Right, but not just yet. I need to make sure these steps are in the right place, which means they don't stick out below the building. Put them like so. Now this will eventually be sat on a piece of pavement. A very slight gap along the bottom is quite likely, but can also be dealt with without too much difficulty. So that needs to be glued firmly, like so. I just need to, that on there. Except it does protrude slightly from the front. It's not a massive problem. Right, so next up is this here, which goes in there. So that needs and that puts in the doors to the cinema. Yeah, they don't line up perfectly at the back. To be honest, I'm not massively concerned by that. The building itself is a bit floppy at the present, so you need to be a bit careful. Keep that centred. Yes, that's that. There is now an internal floor. The lower grey card floor has tabs that fold through, which is these here are the. I have got the inside thing to do on this as well, and this is where I've got to have a little bit of a think about lighting wiring, because it's much easier to make a hole now than it will be to make a hole later. So I've got a lower floor and an upper floor. And then by the look of it, 2 partial floors, which is not good. I might have to replace that with a complete floor. So that goes in here and sticks out the front, that, and like that, and those bits actually hold something. That then holds the building square. So I need to think about where lights are going to go in here. So as I said, I want probably 1, maybe 2 in there, and possibly 1 or 2 at the front. So let's just hold that in place like so. Let that bit dry. I can use this sort of tab piece here to help hold it. This will give the building a lot more structure as well, but I do need to think about where the lights are going to be. The lights for the foyer are actually going to fairly obviously be mounted on top of this bit pointing downwards. So what I'm going to do is draw on there so I can see where that's going to be. Stand that back up. Forget about that piece at the moment. Is another strengthening piece. So that is there, like that. And I just need to make 2 little holes there. Now did have the lights I'm actually using somewhere. I just need to see if I can quickly find them, because that'll give me a rough idea of how big a hole to make. Yes, anyway, so I can't find those. So, yeah, this is going to need a few little holes knocking through it. And then obviously the lights can be stuck above them. So what I'm going to do, it's going to be well, that way up, but it doesn't really matter. I'm going to look at how wide is that roughly. Yeah, it's not even in either size, but never mind. So if I were just to eyeball this and say 1 about there, 1 about there, I need to make some holes that will fit that. So I do have a tool that will do it if I can find it. On this desk is always the challenge. Here we are. What I have is this. This is designed for working with printed circuit boards and strip board for making holes. It's basically a drill bit with a handle. What I'm going to do is drill through the cardboard. That's one. That's the other. I may have to make these a little bit bigger. The problem is the lights I'm going to use are moderately bulky. So what I don't want to do is fit them with a huge hole. I don't want them sticking down. I don't really want them visible from the outside. Annoyingly, there are wires soldered onto them from the back, so just having them above shining through little holes is probably the way to go. They need a sharper knife, which I have around somewhere. I do have a scalpel blade somewhere. Where are we? The building that's had enough and decided to have a lie down for a bit. I don't blame it. So in here I have some scalpel blades. I say rather frustratingly, what I don't have to hand is the handle for them, which is a bit annoying, but there we go. So I'm going to use one of these carefully to make this hole sort of what I want it to be. Because the drill has obviously gone through it, but it's not, it's left a bit of a mess. So if I use this, I cut a proper hole. There we go. Actually, better to just actually cut a hole. Yes. Anyway, thinking ahead. This is forward planning for you. This is what happens when you don't have the tooling to hand. On through. Let's go through. Check this side. This is obviously a lot easier to do now than it would be to do after the building has been put together. Hence the sort of little comment about just a little bit thinking ahead. To be honest, it's not something I'm known for, but things like this, it's well worth trying. So is that going to come out? Not entirely yet. It will do, but not entirely. So I need to just slice through that bit, slice through that bit, slice through that bit. There we go. So that's a hole for a light. It's not square. I don't believe it really has to be. Now I'm just going to stick a light above that. The LED will sort of sit in that hole and point downwards. So I should do the same on this side. The shop lights and stuff, I don't think I need to do this with. I can sort of glue those on the inside and you won't see them, to be honest. Although this method may have made slightly more sense. It is a little bit too late to go in and chop holes in these pieces, however, at this point. So yeah, that's where that's sitting. So we'll punch that through there. That. And again, that just needs cleaning up a little bit on the other side. Now, the other thing to think about, obviously, is do you want lighting in these buildings? You don't need them. I mean, there's no... You just don't need lighting in buildings. I think it looks quite nice. The way I'm going to be doing it, I'm going to be able to control these lights. And not just the intensity, I'm going to be able to control the colour because of the lights I'm using. So for example, I'm going to be able to put these foyer lights into any colour I want. If I want that. And yes, on the inside here there is space. You see I can fit, I can stick a light underneath there without too much difficulty. What I'm going to have to do is cut some slits for the wires, and they will be slits at the back. So I might do that now as well. And to be honest, there's an easy way of doing that, which is take little chunks out here and here, and I can cut through them with this. As I say, this is just so that wires have got somewhere to live. You could, and indeed I could have here decided, well, I'm going to drill a hole and I'll feed the wires through the hole and then I'll solder the LEDs that way. This is the other thing I've learned over time. It is much easier to do your lighting rig on the bench, check it works, and then install it, than it is to try and solder inside cardboard buildings. I mean, it's possible, if you're quite careful, it is very possible, but there we go. So that, I'm just going to clean up this hole here a little bit. It's got a little bit of debris sticking out of it. And what I'm actually going to do is make the clean side the downside. So that piece is going to go into there like that. As you see, hold it that way up, you can see the two holes where the lights can shine down. I've got some holes here for the wiring. There's going to be bits of wiring in the back of this that are going to be a bit of a mess. They will be glued to things and then basically hidden. I mean, I'm going to have to make some extra pieces. I might stick some bits. I'm not quite decided where the bits are going to go in and out of this yet. So let's add this floor piece, which is one of the next instructions. Once that's in, I will stick this step piece here that goes on the back. This is so you've got something to see through the windows. As I say, I'm going to have to put some extra pieces on the sides because if I don't, it's not going to work. So this needs glue onto these end pieces. Might as well get a reasonable amount. Same on here, like so. Run that all the way along. That'll do. I don't want it hanging down the inside. And then on here, there we go, all the way along. On there like that. And like that. And yes, I said that was the way I wanted to do that, didn't I? So that can go into there, through there, that goes into there, through there. That all goes in, holds down, and basically that's the inner floor fitted, and that does need a little bit of weight on it just to help hold it. What else have I got? Yeah, premium satin varnish, that'll do. And this is really just to help hold it down onto all of these pieces. Yeah. Olive drab primer. And a grey primer. Should help. And that building now is a lot more rigid than it was. That needs a few minutes to just dry. I don't believe I've got any more sub-assemblies at this point here. And then obviously these lighting window pieces are all going to get stuck in. Once they're in place, there is a middle section of floor, which, like I say, is in pieces. I'm going to have to cut my own because I don't want the hole in the middle of it. I'll bring this over here, let's see what I mean. This little gap here, I don't want. I want the floors inside to be solid because that will make, again, fitting the lights a lot easier. So that's what we're going to do. The beauty of this is, say, with coloured lighting, I can have the shop lights in a sort of a nice yellowy colour because the ones I've got have got a warm white setting, so we'll do that. I could potentially have the lighting sort of this side of the building in a red, in a purple, in some other thing. And I can make them change colour as I want in a sequence if I so desire, although I don't really need it. It's a 1930s thing, you probably wouldn't have colour changing effects at that point. But it's like, this is a horror film, so we're going to have a red or something like that. And just see how that works. So that's that, that's that, that's that. I think there is a piece that slides into that bit, which I'm going to have to look at in a bit. Right, so now we have to fit. There's this piece here which goes on the back of there. I'm actually going to leave that because I want to put that on later. It does need to go on, but I think it needs to go on later. So these here, we have these windows. I need to see this side so I can see what I'm doing. These say small windows at the top. So that goes on there. And this is good. They do actually, they've sized it nicely, so they do sit on this card layer, which is very good. This is, again, the Metcalfe kits, the way they're put together is really good. They are very well designed with a thought to like non-sadistic assembly processes. So, right here like so, and to put there up the middle. And put on the top like that. This thing goes in that. Spin it round to make sure I've got it centered properly. Yeah. There we have a set of windows in the front of the cinema building. Now, sort of by default, the interior of this is, oh look, it's grey cardboard. Yeah, so again, I need to paint the inside of this a little bit. It's really just going to be a neutral colour. I mean, you can paint it as a grey. I'm not sure I really want it to look like cardboard when it's done, it must be said. You sort of think, what sort of colours might you have the inside of a cinema? Or the inside of a wall of some sort. I tend to use like a cream colour. Like my go-to is a bone colour, which works quite nicely. Spin that round and make sure that's centred properly. It is well worth taking a few seconds to centre them. And again, yeah, window looking rather nice. Regal, in fact, is how it's looking. I do apologise again. Now that's going to go into the middle of there. So again, bring this up here and see what we're doing. A little bit of glue on the side of this. Go around the bottom. All of that grey can have glue on it. And this one also wants a thin snick of glue in the middle of those, and then across the top. And that little bit up the middle is just to help with lining it all up against the centre at the front. So that goes in there. I think that's probably about right. Turn it round. It wasn't far off. And it just gets all press fitted on. And that gives me the windows at the front of the building, which are perhaps not perfect, but they are good enough. There's the two more little sets that go on the sides. At the sides of this, you're not really going to see. One side is going to be facing a bridge and the back of the layout, so you really won't see that. Although what it will mean is light that comes out of there will shine onto said bridge, which might be quite nice. And the other is probably going to have a bank next to it. I'm very likely going to be butting other buildings right up against the side of this. This is sort of designed to have like an alleyway down either side. I'm probably not building it that way, just because of the spacing I've got here and where I want the gap I've got for it to fit into. Get this here done. We're not far off finished at this point, actually. As I said, I do need there's a piece I've just spotted I do need to trim slightly. The time-consuming bit of this literally is putting the windows together. It really, really is. So I'm just going to trim that plastic off there like that. This is because the upper floor sits on top of these windows, so you really want the tops of them to be smooth. This way, along here, like that, like that, like that, and come up the top. There we are. So that's that. Like I say, the interior floor I do need to rebuild. The top floor, however, is just this, and it fits in here like that, goes up against those tabs, and that's the top. And again, that gives a bit more strength. Now you can see there is a grey piece that goes across all the back here, which I will be fitting, but later, and it will be painted before it gets fitted. Is the thing. So what I'm going to do now is fit this upper floor. I'm putting this on now, even though it says no, do the middle floors first. I'm putting this on first basically because, like I say, I'm going to have to rebuild those middle floors, whereas this top floor is perfectly adequate as it is. It will have lighting fitted, but it will have lighting fitted to its underside, so it's not really a problem. And that in there, that in there, that in there. Except I'm going to just lift it up to fit under all of the tabs, like that. There we are. Just lift it up at the back, hold that in place, and put a clamp on that. Maybe it'll hold it. Yeah, not really. It's going to just bend the whole thing with the weight of the clamp, so that'll do. And that's that. Yes, it needs an internal floor. I will do that at some point. Right, we now have a bit more detailing to do. Yeah, and so I've got that interior bit to deal with, but I can think about that as well. Where are we? 11, figure 12, right, some wall pieces that go at the top. This is where the instructions say to put the big grey piece on the back. There is no way on this earth I am doing that, not at the moment. We have now inner top wall spacer, 2 inner wall top wall spacers. So I have another one here, that's that and that. These apparently get glued onto there like so. This is the other reason for a little bit of being careful when you're putting these things together. It's very easy to end up with the bit that's really, really, really visible has got writing on it, because they put a lot of instructions on the card pieces. Just get a bit more glue onto this here, stick these two together. And to assist with avoiding that, here I'm going to glue the 2 pieces of text facing each other. It might not be technically the right way of doing it, but it means the text will definitely not be seen. Plain cardboard is quite easy to paint. So that then goes onto there, which will get clamped. And then there's some cladding pieces to go on the outside of the building, which sort of assist a little bit. Let's get some more glue out. Come on, more glue, more glue, more glue. Glue, 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 glue. I love glue. Glue's really good. I have lots of fun with glue. You can stick things with it as well. So that is there, centered, and then clamped briefly. We have some strips of brick which go on next according to the instructions. Fit red brick strips fit to the back of the wall tabs, so these bits go on here like that, which suggests the long pieces go on first. So yeah, can do that. They'll fit on quite easily. And I'm just going to, here I'm going to glue the backs of the tabs and get the glue to come out of the tube, which I can't, so I'm going to do it this way. Do that. There are topping pieces that go on top of all of this and hide the joins quite nicely, so that piece can go there. That's it, just fits into that gap. And these tab pieces here, this is a nice detail. This is a part of the kit you're basically not going to see, but they've thought about hiding the exposed card, which is quite nice. This thing does have a roof as well. There's a nice front piece that's going to stick out. It says cinema, which is a piece I need to look at and sort out nicely, because that's, yes, that bit there fell down slightly, but it doesn't matter, I can sort that out. And yeah, that's the canopy. I'm going to put some further lights under. And that may require, again, a little bit more thought, because what we've got is a single sheet of card. And it is, as I suspected, it is this piece. It actually sticks that way up. I think. Yeah, looks like it sticks that way up. And then I'm probably going to want some lights there, so I'm going to have to build this up a bit to be a bit thicker, so that the lights fit. Right, take those clamps off, because that's that bit done. The next bit is this, which needs some bends putting into pieces. This here, according to the instructions, is a cladding piece that goes there, like that. And I think that works nice. And yeah, and that actually makes it flush with the stairs at the front as well. I think that looks quite good. So we'll do that. And these bits at the top fold around, so they need glue on all of it. Not so much it bulges out. That's always the key. You want effectively enough glue to make it stick, but not enough glue to make a mess. Which is a pity, because making a mess is part of the fun of model railways. You see various comments about ballasting, for example. Right, let's now find a way of putting this on so that it lines up. It's got to line up, otherwise the glue will smear and go everywhere. I'm just going to fold those pieces around and clamp them, because otherwise they won't stay folded around. I can do that. And then yes, what we've now got down the front is this rather nice cladding, which I think looks rather good. There are some other pieces as well. We have these bits, which are corner strips, black section to the base, so they can get folded that way. These can go on as well, and these, well, in one way they cover up the join, in other ways you get that join instead, so yeah, you pays your money, you take your choice, so to speak. So we're going to do this. I'm not going to be putting that, I say, that front canopy on yet. I need to think a bit about that. So this is very nearly done, you'll be pleased to hear. What I'm going to do is gently position it where it's going to live, so we can have a little look at that and see how it looks. And then that'll be that. Rubbish off the bottom of that. Now weirdly, these corner pieces do actually add quite a bit of strength to the kit. Basically because they really are just laminating it into the corner. So that's there. I need to lay it down again, just make sure it's on properly. And this is where folding it so it wants to stay more folded helps, because that helps stop it from coming away from the edge of the wall, which can be a little bit of a problem. And you have a very nice 1920s, 1930s style cinema building, which I liked when I saw it. I was very tempted to see if I could get the N-gauge version for my N-gauge layout. Then I really realised I just really didn't have anywhere to put it, so it would have been a bit of a waste, even though it would have been quite a fun kit to put together, because I have enjoyed assembling this. Frustrating as putting the windows together is, but there we go. So that's there, that's there, that's there. That goes on, pulls in the corners. Stand it up, take those clamps off, hopefully that's sorted. I think there is a back piece for that. I'm going to have a look in a minute, see if there is. but that's what you have from the front. It's not huge. Like I say, I'm going to skip the canopy. So we have the roof, and oh yes, there are some bits for the shop signs to go on as well, which I can do. Where did the roof end up? The roof's around here somewhere. I had a roof. Honest, I did. There we are. A roof. We have a roof. Oh yes, I see how that bit there gets covered. There's actually a piece that sits over the top. That sits in there, like so. And then there are two diagonal bracing pieces somewhere, there we are, which fit in and just help it keep its shape. So that's good, so I can just slide that in there. The way to do this, I suspect, is going to be to put glue all around the corners in here. Yes, squeeze glue so it goes into all of that corner. Like so. I'll fit this and I'll fit the bracing pieces, so that can go there, that can go into there like that. Fits in quite nicely. And then they've got base written on them, which sort of says tells you which angle to do on them. So these pieces here are going to go into this up here as little triangles. So it's going to be the hippopotamus, or whatever the long edge is called. Yes. I'm educated, me, honest. It doesn't show, I hide it well. That's that piece. This one here. In base. More glue on the hippopotamus. Hypotenuse, that's it. See, it came to me in the end. Don't ever let me work on something where that sort of knowledge matters. Anyway, right. That just fits on there, that holds it in. That's that. We then have this piece, I believe. Small centerpieces here, so that's that. That's that, and that fits on there. It's between those two pieces that folded down. Yes, that looks quite nice. So I shall stick that in. Again, is plenty of glue. And again, if you want to see some more of these buildings, I mean, I've got a few of them, but there's plenty of channels out there of layouts that have a lot of Metcalfe buildings. Little Wicket, Rob's layout is basically Metcalfeville, which I think looks quite nice. There's a few others, so that is the entrance piece to the cinema, which I don't want to do this with. That is the cinema piece. These pieces here are, oh yes, black strips for the tops of that. These here are the pieces I'm after. Yeah, that piece, which I'm not sure I am. Oh yeah, no, I am after that piece as well. But that, I want that, I want the other angled one, wherever that's got to. That's over here. Because what we've now got to do is put these capping pieces on, which to sit over the top and make it look nice. I'm a big fan of that, so we shall see. So it's literally only just occurred to me to check the camera is actually recording, which thankfully it is. that capping piece. That piece goes along there and sticks out the edges slightly, which I can cope with. This is actually where using PVA can come into its advantage when you're sticking some of these fine detail pieces on like this, because it will soak down between all of the layers and really, really bond it together well. So that can go on top of there. And it's just a case of visually trying to make sure it overlaps both sides together, or equally rather. And we do this bit. So, put a bit of glue out. Sometimes the glue doesn't want to come out. It's afraid of the light, I think. There we go. So that's that. Yeah, that's on. That's nice. There are two more little pieces to do. What I need to do now is pre-cut shop signs fit. So somewhere I've got two shop signs. Oh, look at that, here they are. So I have the tobacconist, which sits at one end, and the other end is a bookshop. Now, and according to this, these fit on here into these gaps very, very slightly. I might have to trim them just a tad to get them to fit. That end one fits. This one here just needs a very, very slight trim. So it's going to get a very, very slight trim. And we'll see if it fits. And now it fits. These fit in here. And then there's some strips to sit on the top of them. So I'm going to do those. The kit does come with a range of shop signs, so if you want more than one of these on your layout, you can make them look different. The problem with this is I think this is a very, very distinctive building, so I'm not quite sure you'd want more than one of them, unless you have a very large layout, in which case more than one of them is probably perfect. Right, that, and then there's a little strip to sit on top of this, but I'll put the signs on first. And just incidentally, I am aware I haven't done a lot of layout related videos recently. It's all been bits of wood and painting. That's sort of a thing, unfortunately. Yeah, the layout stuff is coming back together. Oh, there we are. They work, and then there are two strips, which are these. I do need a little. I just need to run the scalpel down the middle of them just to separate them properly. Ooh, sound of thunder upstairs, which is my good lady, who if she hears me calling her that will probably kill me, but never mind. Yes, moving a door. So let's put a bit over here. Some glue to come out of the tube. There we are. A bit of glue came out in the end. And then these strips fit. Again, just needs a very, very small amount chopping off the end. Which it'll get. Then it'll fit. There we go. Designed to sit on top of that tab. Gives the top of the sign something to sit on. Yeah, that works. And while I'm not quite old enough to go back to the 1930s, I do remember going to a cinema remarkably like this. When I was younger in the 80s, it was just a cinema that had two screens, one upstairs, one downstairs, where the old, it was a converted theatre, like a great many cinemas in the UK are, or were at the time, the older ones at least. Yeah, converted theatre, and it had little shops to either side. I can't remember what the shops were. I was rather young. I went to see Ghostbusters in one of these when that first came out, if you remember that. And I'll tell you something I've just noticed that I didn't fit, and that's these, which is the inner frame for these shop windows, which is why I don't have a window frame around them. Never mind. Yeah, never mind. And that, apart from this inner slab piece and the canopy, which, like I say, I'm going to do later, the canopy goes sort of like that in there. It does stick out quite a way. Going by that, is that right? That can't be right. I don't think it sticks out that far. Or does it stick out that far? Oh no, I see. No, I see how this bit works. I can remove that again. That folds over. That fits on there. That goes underneath. So there's your bit where the lights are supposed to shine down, and that goes out at the top. So I'm gonna, yeah, obviously I've got some lights that will go out under that. So what I need to do is make sure this has some matching holes, which actually won't be that hard to do. So let's do that now, because what if the holes line up, everything else works, and I can stick this in. So yes, let's do that. So that's, again, just needs a very little bit trimming. Something else you'll get used to with putting card kits together is you always end up having to do just a little bit of fettling. It's a bit like pretty much any other form of model kit making. Most of it will go together, bits of it won't. So what I'm going to do is hold that there and mark out on the inside where these holes are. It gives me two little hole markers here, and I'm going to cut those to be slightly larger. Now, if you look in here, they're obviously supposed to be strip lights. Yeah, I'm not doing strip lights. What I'm going to be doing is holes with some LEDs there. You could quite easily stick a pair of 3mm or 5mm warm white LEDs down here, and it would work perfectly well. I don't see why that wouldn't work. Again, you could go out to Train of Thought's channel, Ian. You follow the little tutorial he's just done on 555 timers, and you can stick LEDs in, and you can say, "This is how bright I want them to be." And you just you put the circuitry under the board, obviously, but there's decent-sized buildings. You could have the circuit board in the building. But you put it under the board, and you could stick your little variable resistor somewhere you can get at it, and you can decide this is how bright I want it to be. The way I'm going to be doing this is, like I say, addressable LEDs, so I'll be able to change the colours and the brightness fairly easily. One thing I haven't got available to me at the moment, because I was an idiot when I did the cellar, the lights down here are not dimmable. They're very nice lights, they're very bright, they work really nicely, but they're not dimmable. So if I want to do a night effect shot for this layout, it involves using a torch, going upstairs, turning the lights off, and then coming back down. And then the whole room is basically lit up at that point by the monitor screen, and the lights on the layout at that point, so we shall see. Right, let's just flick this piece out. So, and there we go. So those lights will line up. I can now glue this side. It's probably better to glue on the bit that folds over, because that's the right size. Come on, glue out you can. This is where it's got a little bit rubbery in the lid. So fold that over, clamp that for a sec. Those inside steps I am going to leave for a little while. Now there is, I say, there is the base piece for this. And You don't have to use this base. And I say I'm probably going to end up trimming it a little bit, but the building sits on it. It's wider than the sort of the grey area in there, which goes quite nicely, and that gives you yes, sort of an effect. I'm not going to glue it to that, but that works. What this canopy does mean is that probably putting a street light out here is going to be quite difficult, so the street lights will have to be the other side of the road. I do have street lights to fit, not fitted them yet. So this strip here is going to get glued into here. Should be doable now. Hopefully that will stay stuck. That can go into there. Yes, those holes line up nicely. And then what I'll be able to do is light up the steps, which I think will work quite nicely. I could be wrong. Like I say, there will be a follow-up video for this, which is going to cover adding lights to this. I needed a building to put lights in for that video, and that is what this building's job is going to be. So slide that in there like so. And as you can see my blue glove fingers through those holes. Lights will shine down from there, under there, and illuminate the outside of the doors. We now have just 2 more pieces to fit, one of which is this cinema sign that goes on here around that edge. Partly above it, partly below it is how I'm going to do that. And then a capping piece for the top of it. And then we're done, or at least we're done for today. Like I say, there will be more to this. Around there, all the way around there with a bit of glue. Side as well, and on that side there as well. And if I can find some, up here seems to be the perfect place to put some pigeons or something of that nature. But, we shall have to see. See, that sits on there. I've just got to try to level it a little bit. Go onto the ends. It would have helped actually putting this piece in earlier before I put the doors on, because it would have made fitting it a lot easier. Yeah, right, so it needs to go that way slightly, just to make sure it's level. Level from the ends. Doors open 2 and 7 p.m. Because obviously for the younger viewers out there, cinemas weren't always 24/7 operation, or with like 8 showings per day of utterly interchangeable garbage, if I'm perfectly honest. I'm not a fan of modern films. In fact, I think the last film I actually went to the cinema to see, if memory serves, was the first of the new Star Trek films. And the only reason I went to see that at the cinema was my car had broken down, and while it was being sorted, I needed something to occupy me for a little while. So I found a cinema nearby, and I just went and sat and watched a film, and at the end of it I looked at it and thought, well, if I could have got my money back from that, I would have done. Right. Done. So what I'm going to do is take you out of the mount. I'm going to go clean a little bit of the layout up. I'm going to put this in place and I'll show you what it looks like. So I'll see you in a minute. And here we are, roughly in situ. The road will be closer to it. The bridge it'll be a different one that doesn't have the smoke effects on it. And it'll be slightly further into the corner with a road that's obviously a bit wider. So that's how that's going to work. And yeah, that'll fit. So that's how it goes. Thanks for watching. In the next one, I'll be looking at doing the lighting. So catch you then. Yes, now as I said at the beginning, that was quite long, certainly longer than I expected it to be. I didn't realise even when I've edited this down a bit it was going to be anything like this. In future, when I do these things, I will try to script them a little bit better so they're not so long. Anyway, thank you very much for anyone who did stick to this far. I will catch you all in the next one. Thank you very much once more, and goodbye.